it's Julie King here today with Nancy Harris. Nancy is the VP and General Manager for Sage 50, the Accounting Canadian edition. Nancy, it's great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Julie.
So you've just done something pretty big. You've just done a major rebranding from Simply Accounting to Sage 50. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd love to. So our change to the Sage brand is part of a global initiative on behalf of Sage to really build a dominant master brand in Sage. And Sage 50 Canadian edition is that next step in our portfolio, moving over to create that dominant brand in Sage. And the purpose is really, Sage has a number of different products in its portfolio, and we're coupling the Sage brand with a numbering scheme to make it easy for our customers to choose the product that's right for them.
So somebody who previously would have used Sage Simply Accounting today is going to buy
Sage 50.
And then there was the higher end ACPAC, for example, which a lot of people have heard of but may not use, and that translates into
Sage 300.
Sage 300, and Sage 100 is?
It's formerly Mass 90.
Okay.
So there's a spectrum. So it starts with Sage 1, which is really our online product that targets micro businesses, Sage 50, small business, and then Sage 100, 300, 500, and the like, all targeting lower mid-market to upper mid-market companies.
And I suppose with this rebranding too, there's an aspect of emphasizing the ability to scale, right? So if I have a company and I start out on Sage 1, is it pretty easy for me to just roll into Sage 50 when I need to?
So we do, yes, it is easy to roll into the next edition, and that is part of the notion of the rebrand, is that because Sage had formerly grown by acquisition, and those were products that were served in their local markets, oftentimes customers might not be aware of all the variety of products that are in that portfolio. And so a customer can start, as an example, in Sage 50 Canadian edition, and then with the help of a partner, they can migrate their data and be on ACPAC, which is now Sage 300. So it is definitely to give those customers an opportunity to move up or down the product portfolio as it suits their business need.
And we were just talking about how we have to do our accounting, but it's not necessarily the favorite thing for a lot of small businesses to do. So, over the years, what have you seen from the small business market in terms of where their needs are for accounting, and how is Sage helping address those needs?
Okay, that's a good question. So, as far as the changes in the market, really we see more change around the types of technology that people are introducing into the market, and small business has those same needs that they've always had in terms of accounting, and yet there are new ways to access your products via the cloud. There's a lot of capability and flexibility in doing so, and so at Sage what we have focused on is having that same well-known common experience with our on-premise accounting products, but extending their reach by developing add-ons in the cloud. And so we call it a hybrid cloud strategy. You have your on-premise desktop with great performance, but then you have cloud accessible products that aggregate and then add value to that core desktop.
So can you give me an example of what some of those add-ons might be in the cloud?
Sure, so you might do something like have a direct deposit application that directly interfaces into your desktop product, and through the cloud being able to do direct deposit without having that operate directly from the desktop.
Okay, so I'm on the road and I've got my tablet, so I'm using the direct deposit when I'm at my bank, and then I'm not having to worry about taking pictures of the checks I'm depositing or filling out the old notebook that we used to use.
Right, right. And I'll give you another good example, and we recently demoed this at our partner event, Sage Summit. We demoed an application which is cloud-based that could be an extension of the desktop product, but it's a field, basically a sales order utility, where you as a small business owner or your one salesperson could go call on a client, sit down with the iPad, say you're a custom cabinet maker, show them pictures of what's all in inventory, negotiate a deal right there on the spot, create a bid, and ultimately even create an invoice that could be kicked out. So it's a much more seamless work from anywhere type of application.
And I think that's a big push. We've been looking at as well at things where you can actually get paid. So you're a landscaper and you've just done the lawn, you can actually hopefully get the payment right there through one of your electronic devices as well.
Right. And as we know, cash flow is really important to small business owners, and so anything that they can do or we can offer them to expedite that is just good for their business.
Yeah, and I don't know, I know personally the thing I hate doing is invoicing, and so I think if you can do it while it's actually happening, it makes it a little bit easier.
True.
Now, I'm curious because you actually have a fair bit of experience with tech startups before you came back into the Sage world. So business models, we know they're changing really quickly. There's the freemium model, there's the idea of crowdsourcing logos for really low cost. What have you been seeing in terms of how business models are shifting?
Well, we spoke about this a minute ago, but it's really a lot about people moving to the cloud and accessing either applications via the cloud on various and sundry devices, including just on their mobile phones. So you mentioned invoicing. I mean, it makes it very easy. We also have seen, and this goes back to from a marketing perspective, and we see with small business owners, there's a lot of changes in terms of using social media to get the word out about your company and your business and the services and solutions you provide. And I think that's been an interesting thing to watch for small businesses because they might dabble, but I don't think it's definitely the comfort zone for them, but it's the wave of the future. And so they recognize that that's where they need to get. And so you're beginning to see Facebook and Twitter and those things come into play for the small business owners too.
So social media for businesses, I mean, we're not seeing them tweeting out that they've sent out an invoice, so at least there's a little separation on the accounting side, but absolutely. Do you envision a day where we're going to be somehow integrating our social media into our accounting activities?
Well, I don't know if we'll be able to actually use the accounting functionality from social media, but who knows? I mean, things are springing up all over, and so it's a definite possibility.
Well, and it does go to one question though, and what is the ROI on social media, and how can we measure that with tools like our accounting packages? So maybe we'll see some ability in the future to measure it as a KPI. So who knows, maybe we'll be mapping out, I tweeted and look, I made all these sales.
That's true. I mean, that's a really important point because you can spend a lot of time in that, but whether or not your time invested gives you a return is really critical. Yeah. And I do think there's a wave of the future in that regard too, though. If you think about the marketing automation systems that are out in the market today, and you think about the ability that you now have when you do something like send an outreach piece via email, to measure every response, to measure closed loop, knowing that from that response you got a lead and from that lead you got a sale. So I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere along in here that those social media outlets, people figure out a way to measure the return on what those provide.
I think you're right. And pulling back to the Sage 50, what's new in the 2013 edition?
We're really excited. We've got a number of enhancements that just came out October 1st in the product. So we've sort of categorized those, and I'll give you a few examples, but we've really focused on ease of use and specifically ease of installation. And we focused on some really exciting reports that will give small business owners really effectively a dashboard that shows them a health check of their business. So what is their cash flow based on the prior 90 days? What's the projected cash flow? And so they can see it quick at a glance how they're doing and how their month is looking and how the future is looking vis-a-vis those critical elements. And then we also have, we take credit card payments through Sage Payment Services. And so we added the ability to have in Canada both US and merchant accounts so that you can process those transactions either in US dollars or in Canadian dollars.
Right, right. And talking about payments, do you see a time when we are going to be doing more integrating with your software? I'm on my iPhone and I've gotten a payment. And are those apps available yet, or is that just emerging?
That's a great question. So from Sage, we actually, through the Sage Payment Services team, we actually have what we call Sage Exchange, which allows you to take credit cards. You can attach a device, take a credit card from your iPad. So in that demo I mentioned to you where they ordered the custom cabinet, swipe the card, take the order. Same's true of attaching a device to your mobile phone and being able to swipe that credit card. So that's available today through Sage Exchange. And we have the payments integration today in Sage 50 Canadian Edition, and we'll be moving toward that platform for swipe very near term. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is things like associations that run golf tournaments, and how do they go out and capture the people on the day. And so these technologies are going to really help move a lot of that forward.
That's true. That's very true. A lot of the not-for-profits that are out doing events in the field or doing things where they're not located in a stationary environment, it's a great application.
Which touches the small business owner who just wants to go out and network with and making it easier for them to get registered and go and participate. Mm-hmm. Not having to jump through the hoops of faxing in forms
right.
with my signature and credit card number on them.
Exactly.
If you had one piece of advice for someone who's just starting, or hopefully even has started and is growing their business, based on having seen so many different companies, what advice would you have for someone to adapt to the changing business times?
Well, that's a good question. There again, I think it's to surround yourself by people who have been there, done that, so have good advisors and good coaches. Mm-hmm. I also think in the case of setting up your business, you do need to look at things like what technology foundation do you need to get your business started on the right foot. And so I would encourage them either through a bookkeeper or accountant who could help them with their accounting setup, coupled with all of their technology plans for their business. So you can even start small and it's very affordable, but it's important to have those plans in place and have a good business plan.
So lay the right foundation.
Mm-hmm. Right,
okay.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for being with us today, and it's been fabulous to have you in, and I hope that everything goes well with your rebranding effort to the Sage 150, 100, 300, and 500.
Great, Julie. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks very much.